Hello everybody, my name is Zul, and welcome to Modding Oblivion. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at how to mod the UI, get your heads-up display, inventory menus, that kind of thing, looking all good and nice, and continuing with the theme of building a really up-to-date base modded game. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at two mods that make the UI and the HUD look so much better than they do. I do not like the way that the heads-up display is on Oblivion, and this mod changes it for the better. So let's take a look at those mods now. Okay, I want to talk about the vanilla UI for Oblivion really quickly, in specifically some of the scaling and choices, and why I think it definitely needs to be modded. So the first thing we'll notice here is at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, there's nothing. Whereas at the bottom left, we have all of our UI elements pressed up into the screen. We have our health, the weapons, and that kind of thing, and the compass, which is really tall, but not very wide, which doesn't seem to fit in very well with the widescreen monitors that most people should be using at this point in time. Another thing to bring up is the inventory screen itself. Again, a lot of taller elements, but not as much width, and we have some wasted space on the screen. The inventory menu itself isn't very PC friendly. It looks to be designed as a console. Not as much so as in Skyrim, but there are still definitely some issues with it. The map is also strange because unlike most of the UI elements, this one's actually much smaller than it could be. This map could be filling up a much larger area of the screen and it would be more useful, but instead it's restricted to this small area here. The statistics pane at the beginning is another example of something that has too large of interface elements. This looks like it's meant to be viewed from a console and not from a computer screen like a foot away from your face. Again, scaling issues are rampant here. Dialogue and text is another thing that needs to be changed, as well as quest messages. Again, the font and the text is really large, it's sort of in your face, and it makes the game look a little bit old and tacky. If I were to go and talk to that guard over there, we would also see that the dialogue doesn't work out as well as it could. But if we contrast that with using mods, for example, Dharmified UI, we'll be able to see just how good the game can really look. Alright, here I am with Dharmified UI now. This is the mod that I prefer to use to change the user interface, and you'll notice a difference immediately. The fonts are much smaller, and this is going to adjust all the scaling issues I was complaining about earlier. The compass as well is much nicer, being full-sized, and everything's out of the way. The mini-map is actually a separate mod that I will cover in a little bit. Let's take a look at the inventory here, and we will see that look how much more will fit on the screen. This is definitely a PC user interface. Gives us a lot of information right away. You can sort it. You can go through exactly what you want. You can also select this button and just sort of go through items this way. I don't really like that, but it is an option, and that's one of the great things about modding. So all the weapons and stuff are like this, all of the items in your inventory. So basically you're going to get a lot more to see. Spells are the same way. If we look at the main screen here, we'll see a lot more information on the screen. The font sizes are all nice and appealing, they're all nice and scaled, so no more having to scroll unnecessarily. You also have the Dharmified UI settings here on this page, where you can actually change things. This is something I really like about this, because you can customize the UI to how you want it. For example, I can turn this on and hide the essential crown, so you don't know when an enemy is essential. I honestly hate that, because it sort of ruins my immersion in the game, because you know that they're an immortal character. You can also, change other things, move the position of certain items, change where frames are. It's all fully customizable, so you can go ahead and do that there. There's also auto fade, so stuff will kind of fade off into the background, that sort of thing. The map, as you can see, is much, much nicer. It fills up the screen, so you actually get a lot more of your map. Look at how much of the world I can see at once. This is honestly one of my favorite changes because you're able to just get exactly where you're going. You don't have to scroll around, and you can plan long trips a lot easier. I tend to not fast travel, so that's generally what I use it for. The quests and stuff also have better scaling here as well, and there is a colored option for the local map. You can decide this when you're installing it, but I personally think that this is probably one of the best ways to go. Oops. So, if we head over here, we'll be able to see the quest icons. But if we go pick that Nern route again, and we will also see that it is scaled correctly again. But while we're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the mini-map here. The mini-map is customizable as well. It's a different mod, but you can change the settings with your number pad. So if we press minus, we will zoom out. If we press the plus sign, we will zoom in. So you can really change the scaling of it, and this will help you navigate your way around Tamriel as well. If you push the star button right next to the mini-map, you will switch it into local mode, which again can be changed. And this actually just shows you the local map. So you can have it either as a mini-map as in a map, or you can have a literal view of the local surroundings around you. Again, the fonts in this mod are a lot better, and same with the fonts in the top corner. Dharmified UI is definitely a necessity. The mini-map is customizable through an ini file, though. Essentially, what you can do with that is change the positioning of where it is on the screen, but that has to be done out of the game. Now let's talk to this strange guard who's riding his horse in the water, and we will see that the fonts are a lot better. Anyways, so overall, I think that the HUD modifications that I've made here make the game a lot easier to play. In combined with the gameplay changes, it starts to feel like a bit of a new game. Now, you may want to stay tuned because in the next couple of episodes, we're going to be making the world look a lot better and doing a couple of other things, so stay tuned. But for now, I will show you how to install Dharmified UI and the Minimap mod. So, be ready for that. Alright, so we are going to install Dharmified UI. Pretty much all you gotta do is head over to the Oblivion Nexus, go to the file section, and manually download the main file, Dharmified UI 132omod. So download this manually. As far as the Minimap mod is concerned, head over to the Nexus for this as well. This one is going to require you to use the script extender, and it also requires another plugin. So if we go over to the file section, you can manually download the Minimap file, and you're going to also need to get a plugin for OBSE called MenuQ. So go ahead and download this one manually as well. There's a main file, and there's also a bug fixes version. You can just download the 16A version, and you shouldn't have any problems. Alright, so all three of these files can be installed successfully with the Oblivion Mod Manager. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with MenuQ. We're going to create that. We're going to add an archive. MenuQ, of course, is what we are going to select. Open. It will have some data files here, and we will create the OMod. Yes and yes. It'll take a little bit of time to compress it, and then it'll be successfully done. Next, we are going to create the Minimap OMod. So we're going to call it Minimap. We're going to add the archive here. Minimap. There we are. Got the ESP, and we have data files. So once again, create the OMod. Again, it'll take a few moments before finishing itself off. Alright, now that those two are installed, we need to do Dharmified UI. This is actually an OMod, so we're going to go ahead and extract it. Here we are. Open it up, and we will actually get an OMod inside of here. Just double click on that, it'll run, and it'll add it automatically to your Oblivion Mod Manager. Now we're going to go ahead and activate Dharmified UI. It'll ask you what your name is. Not really sure what that's about, but go ahead. And then you can go ahead and select components and other such things. So if you do this, you have to click on these, and you have to control click to select multiple things. I'm going to choose all of them, of course. OK. You can choose a custom font. You can choose to have the classic inventory. You can choose to have a readme, colored local map, and no quest added pop-up, which gets rid of the quest added dialogue. I'm not going to choose that. I'm going to choose these two options here and click OK. So this here is selecting of the fonts. You can see over here it gives you some examples of what the fonts will actually look like. I personally kind of like this King Exter or King Quest. I'll just put that one on, and I will leave it at a normal size because I'm using this on a computer monitor and not a TV, so it's still going to be really close to me. After that, it will ask me if it would like to modify the ini. Press yes and control click when click yes. So control yes, and that will do a yes to all change for that. Next we can go ahead and activate menu queue. So it's just a simple little activation there. And finally the minimap mod. After that we're going to have to run boss, better Oblivion sorting scripts to make sure that the load order is correct. And once that's done, your mod should be successfully installed. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really does mean a lot to me, and it'll keep you notified for when the new episodes in this series come out. As I've already said before, I'm going to be making all the characters and the world look better, so that'll be a mod that makes the faces look better and it makes the world look better, so stay tuned for that. Also, I'm just going to ask you, you could go ahead, follow me on Twitter, check out some of my other videos, that kind of generic stuff. Thumbs up down the video. Don't really want to spend too much time ending it. Yeah, really what I want to say is thank you very much for watching. It means a lot to me, and I hope to see you in the next video. I have been Zool. Have an excellent day.